The encounter at the gala, the grand ballroom of the street, Regis Hotel glittered under crystal chandeliers. Filled with the city's elite dressed in designer gowns and tailored tuxedos, Damien Sterling stood near the bar, swirling a glass of scotch. With disinterest, at 34, he had built a financial empire from nothing, yet these events always left him hollow. Another charity gala, another room full of people pretending to care, he muttered to himself. His sharp blue eyes scanned the crowd, unimpressed. Then something caught his attention. Near the back of the room, a small exhibit stood apart from the auction items, children's artwork, vibrant and unpolished. Damien found himself drawn to one piece in particular, a watercolor of a little girl holding a broken bird with gentle hands. The colors bled together imperfectly, but the emotion was raw. "You're the first person who's actually looked at it instead of just walking past." A soft voice startled him. Turning, he saw a woman with warm brown eyes and chestnut hair cascading over her shoulders. She wore a simple emerald green dress, nothing like the ostentatious gowns around them. "You painted this?" he asked. "No, my students did," she smiled. "I'm Sophia Bennett. I run an art therapy program for kids in foster care." Damien studied her, no pretenses, no hidden agenda. "Just sincerity, Damien Sterling. I know who you are." She laughed lightly. "Your face is on every finance magazine." He expected her to fawn over his wealth, but she didn't. Instead, she talked about her kids, their struggles, their dreams. And for the first time in years, Damien listened. "Join me for dinner," he found himself saying, somewhere quiet. Sophia hesitated.
"Oh, I'm not exactly dressed for a five-star restaurant."
"You're perfect," he said, and meant it. The restaurant Damien chose was nothing like Sophia expected. Instead of a sleek, high-end venue with snobbish waiters, he took her to a small Italian bistro tucked between a bookstore and a flower shop. The air smelled of garlic and rosemary, and the owner, an elderly man with a thick accent, greeted Damien like family. "You come here often?" Sophia asked, sliding into the cozy booth. "When I want to remember that food should taste like something," he admitted. "Most places I go to, the dishes are more about presentation than flavor." She smiled, tracing the edge of her menu. "So the infamous Damien Sterling has a secret love for carbs? It's only when they're worth it." His gaze lingered on her, not with the calculated interest she was used to from wealthy men, but with genuine curiosity. "Tell me more about your work. Why art therapy?" Sophia hesitated, then opened up. She spoke of the children she worked with. Kids who had seen too much pain too young, who carried scars no child should bear. She told him about Alex, a quiet boy who refused to speak until he picked up a paintbrush. About Maria, who drew her nightmares until they lost their power. Damien listened, his usual sharp edges softening. "You give them a voice," he murmured. "They already have one," she corrected gently. "I just help them remember how to use it." The conversation flowed effortlessly. To her surprise, Damien spoke to not about stocks or mergers, but about his childhood, how he'd built his first business at 16 just to escape his father's bitterness, how success had come easily, but meaning never had. "It's strange," he said, swirling his wine. "I've sat across from CEOs and politicians, and none of them have ever disarmed me like you do." Sophia's cheeks warmed. "Maybe because I'm not trying to." After dessert tiramisu, they shared, his fork stealing a bite from her plate. Damien suggested a walk. The May air was cool, the city lights reflecting off wet pavement from an earlier rain. They wandered without direction, their shoulders brushing. "I should get back," Sophia said eventually, though she made no move to leave. "Early morning tomorrow?" Damien turned to her. "Stay." It's just one word, but it carried weight. She searched his face. "Why?" "Because when I'm with you, I don't feel like I'm playing a role." He cupped her cheek, his thumb grazing her skin, and I'm not ready to let that go yet. Their first kiss was under a street lamp, soft and tentative. Sophia's hands curled into his coat, pulling him closer. When they parted, Damien rested his forehead against hers. "Come to the lake house this weekend," he said, voice rough. "No expectations, just more of this." Sophia knew she should say no. She barely knew him, but something in his eyes, something vulnerable and real, made her whisper, "Yes." The gravel crunched under the tires as Damien's car wound through the forested road toward the lake house. Sophia pressed her forehead against the window, watching sunlight flicker through the trees. She had expected something ostentatious. Marble monstrosity with gilded gate, but the house that came into view was all warm wood and wide windows. Nestled between pines and the glittering water beyond. "You built this?" she asked. "Designed it," he said, killing the engine. "I wanted somewhere that didn't feel like a trophy." Inside, the air smelled of cedar and citrus. A stone fireplace dominated the living room, shelves lined with well-loved books instead of expensive decor. Sophia ran her fingers over the spine's poetry, philosophy, even a few worn paperbacks. "You read Bukowski," she laughed. Damien shrugged, a rare boyish grin tugging at his lips. Even billionaires need to brood sometimes. They spent the day outside hiking to a waterfall where Sophia sketched the cascade in quick, sure strokes, Damien watching her hands more than the scenery. He cooked dinner surprisingly competent, his sleeves rolled up as he seared salmon, and they ate on the deck as the sunset bled gold into the lake. "You're different here," Sophia said, swirling her wine. "Here, I'm just me." His gaze darkened. "With you, I'm just me." Night fell. A breeze carried the scent of pine through the open windows as they moved to the couch, knees brushing. Damien traced the curve of her wrist where her pulse fluttered. "Tell me to stop," he murmured. She didn't. His kiss was hotter this time, hungry. Sophia arched into him, fingers tangling in his hair as he nipped at her lower lip. His hands slid under her sweater, calloused palms, skimming her ribs, and she gasped, then froze when his fingers found the clasp of her bra. Damien stilled instantly. "Sophia," her breath came too fast. She'd imagined this moment 100 times, but now, faced with the reality of his weight pressing her into the cushions, her body locked up. A beat of silence. Then Damien sat back, raking a hand through his hair. "You've never done this before." It wasn't a question. Sophia swallowed. "Does it matter?" "Yes." He stood abruptly, pacing to the fireplace. The flames cast shadows over the tight set of his shoulders. "Christ, I should have realized. The way you—" He cut himself off, jaw clenched. Humiliation burned her cheeks. "It's not like I've been waiting for marriage. Just never met someone who made me want to. Until you." Damien turned, his expression unreadable. Then he did something that shattered her completely. He knelt in front of her, taking her hands in his. "Listen to me," he said, voice rough. "What you're offering, it's priceless. I won't take it as some casual weekend fling." Sophia blinked. "You're stopping." His thumb brushed her knuckles. "Properly. No shortcuts." Her breath hitched. In a world where men took without thought, Damien Sterling was walking away from certainty to prove she mattered. Outside, the loons called across the water as the fire crackled between them. And for the first time, Sophia let herself believe in fairy tales. The morning after the lake house, Sophia woke to the scent of coffee and the sound of Damien's low voice murmuring into his phone. She padded into the kitchen, where sunlight streamed through the windows, gilding the edges of his tousled hair. He hung up immediately when he saw her. "Business?" she asked, accepting the mug he handed her. "Victor Kane," Damien said, his mouth tightening. "My biggest competitor and now, apparently, my newest problem." Sophia frowned. "What does he want?" Damien hesitated, then pulled up a news article on his phone. The headline blared, "Sterling's secret soft spot. Billionaire spotted with unknown woman." Below it, a blurry photo of them kissing outside the restaurant. Her stomach dropped. "They're following you? Welcome to my world." His thumb brushed her cheek. "Victor's using this to undermine me. He's leaking rumors that I've gone distracted and emotional." Sophia set down her coffee, her chest tight. Then, "Maybe we should know?" Damien caught her hand. "I'm done hiding." 2 days later, Sterling Enterprises headquarters, the boardroom erupted when Damien announced his relationship. "You're risking our valuation over some schoolteacher?" snapped a silver-haired investor. Damien didn't flinch, prioritizing integrity over perception. Anyone who disagrees can sell their shares. Later in his penthouse, Sophia traced the tense line of his shoulders. You didn't have to do that. I did, he turned, framing her face. I won't let them make you a dirty secret. Then his phone rang. Victor's smug voice filled the speaker. How poetic the king of cold logic, brought down by his own heart. Walk away from her, or I bankrupt you. Sophia's breath caught. No? But Damien just smiled a razor-sharp thing. Try it, he said. He hung up. The press conference that shocked Wall Street cameras flashed as Damien took the podium, Sophia at his side. Love isn't a weakness, he declared. It's the only thing that makes success worth having. The next morning, sterling stock soared. The morning of their wedding dawned with soft spring rain pattering against the windows of the little white chapel in Millbrook. Sophia stood in the bridal suite, her grandmother's lace gown whispering against her skin, while children from her art program giggled outside the door, scattering flower petals down the aisle. Rosa, her mother, fastened the pearl buttons with trembling fingers. Mia, I spent years praying you'd find a man who'd look at you the way Damien does. She turned Sophia toward the mirror. But I never imagined he'd be a billionaire who gives away half his fortune to build community centers. Sophia laughed. Blinking back tears? Neither did I. At the altar, Damien's breath caught when the doors opened. There she was, his Sophia, sunlight catching in her hair, her smile more radiant than any diamond. As she walked toward him, he noticed the details. The wildflowers braided into her hair, the smudge of paint still on her wrist from last-minute art projects with the kids. The way her eyes never left his. When the minister asked for vows, Damien didn't reach for prepared words. You taught me that real power isn't in control, he said, voice rough. It's in surrender. In choosing to love when the world says take, in building something that lasts. He slid a simple band onto her finger. No flashy diamond, just platinum, etched with tiny birds in flight.
Oh.
My life began the day you trusted me with your heart. Sophia's hands shook as she placed his ring-a-brushed tungsten inlay with a single thin line of gold running through it. For the man who found the warmth in his own steel, she whispered, the honeymoon surprise instead of Bora Bora. Damien drove them to a rundown building on the outskirts of the city. Sophia gasped when she saw the freshly painted sign. The Sophia, Sterling Art and Healing Center, you win. Did you? Bought it the day after our first kiss? He pressed the keys into her palm. Your students deserve more than a cramped classroom. She kissed him then, pouring every unsaid promise into it. 18 months later, Damien was in a Tokyo boardroom when his phone buzzed. Sophia's message showed a positive pregnancy test. Beside a watercolor of a laughing baby with his storm-gray eyes, the mighty Damien. Sterling burst into tears in front of his entire executive team. Epilogue. 5 years. Forward business magazines called him the philanthropist tycoon. His rivals still couldn't fathom how Sterling enterprises thrived while funding free art programs nationwide. But every evening at 6 p.m., the billionaire could be found on the floor of the center's messy art room, his daughter Alina giggling, as she painted his fingernails rainbow colors, while Sophia leaned in the doorway, her belly round with their second child. Damien caught her gaze and mouthed the words that had become his truth, worth every penny.